I was going through a really dark time in my life, experienced a lot of sadness and a lot of dark thoughts. And when quarantine hit, everything closed, and this feeling of not having a purpose or a meaning in my life, it was kind of like, okay, everyone else is not doing anything, so it just felt kind of okay. And I was laying in bed one night and I was looking over at my earring collection, and I was like, I'm just gonna try to make a piece of jewelry, try to do something, create something. And I started making a piece, and that feeling of getting that satisfaction of like seeing something that you've created, seeing something beautiful come out of my feelings or just where I was in that moment. I loved it. And so I gifted it to a friend, and she loved it. She would always wear it, and people would get compliments when she would wear it. And she was like, you should start making jewelry, or you should start selling them. And so I was like, okay, why not? And so I started selling them out of my car, and people loved them. People loved the pieces, and I'm like, really? Okay, yeah. And I started doing really well, and I'm like, all right, like taking something where I felt so dark and lost and no purpose, out of something just like into my intuition, and just why not, turned into my purpose, my channel to channel my energy into something beautiful, and gave me a direction in my life. Jewelry changed my life. And here I am selling jewelry in Central Park, and I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So the biggest struggle and how I've overcome it is probably my mom dying when I was a baby, and it came with a lot of healing. Have another physical mom, and I love her so much, so I feel very lucky to have a mom in the physical world. But not having your biological mom as you're growing up, as a baby, as a teenager, can feel really difficult. So I overcame it by becoming really spiritual and learning how to connect with the spiritual world. Learning how to talk to my angels, and knowing that even though my mom was not here physically, she's always here with me spiritually and energetically.
She's your guardian angel.
Yes, she is my guardian angel. So that's the overcome. And now, me being a mom, I always feel like I'm able to be all of that to my daughter, which feels really healing. And being able to give her all these memories that my mom was not able to have with me. So I think, that has been a struggle that I feel like now it's no longer a struggle, because I'm so connected with her.
If you have the ability to talk to your mom or send her a message, what would you want to tell her?
So I love that you said that, because it's not an if, it's because I do. I love her so much, and thank you for everything you've taught me. Thank you for always being with me. Thank you for doing something that, I believe her passing was by choice. She had an allergic reaction, but meaning, it was her time. But I've learned so much from that about myself, and I've been able to lead a more spiritual, connected life than I probably would have if that wouldn't have happened.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Found Harambe system while becoming a dad. And it wasn't because I wanted to found a company or that I wanted the money. It was because I wanted to share this equipment that I came up with to allow me to work out at home because the gyms were shut down. And I wanted to share that with people. But doing that, following that passion while also becoming a dad, was very hard, because every time I put time towards the company, it was time I could have spent with my son.
With your son.
that was very hard balancing that. But I was doing it partially for him because I wanted him to have something, but also for me because I don't know, it felt like a calling. As soon as I experienced making new devices for the first time that people can use and become healthier with, it's such an addicting feeling.
Let's say your son would watch this video 20 years from now.
Oh,
What would you want to tell him?
I love you a lot, and I think about you all the time, and just the idea of that is wonderful. Don't be afraid to follow your dreams. If you feel like, don't just stick to what you're doing because you've been doing it, and that you can change and you can do what you want. Don't let yourself be trapped.
Don't have a ceiling for your dream.
Yeah, don't have a ceiling for your dream. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Amazing.
Don't hesitate. Like, follow your dreams. You only live once. So,
Amazing. Thank you so much.
oh, thank you.
So I would say the biggest struggle that I struggled probably in the past, me working 9 to 5 job, 9 to 5. So I was working for the past almost like 10 years, 9 to 5, and I also had my dream job to own my own company. But I struggled to quit the job and start my own company. So during a pandemic, and everybody was struggling, for me, I found like it was kind of like a big opportunity for me to start something new. And I just started. So as you can see me now, I'm here hanging out. I'm not doing the 9 to 5 job anymore. So I'm having the blast of my life now. I'm able to own my own time. One thing I would say, the struggle that I had is like I own my own time. So now I own my own time. I'm free, like I can go anywhere. I can do whatever I want to do, so I don't own anybody anything. So
Thank you so much.
no problem, man.
So the biggest struggle was recently, well, first and foremost, my name is Damari. I have my own dog training business. It's called AK Legacy Kennel, and my business partner was actually my dog. I got her back in 2020 during the pandemic, so it was me and her. I ended up training her to a T, and that's how it started. And unfortunately, this year she passed away due to rat poisoning in March. So that's been my biggest struggle. How I've overcame it, just living with her name, you know, like she started this for me, and now that she's not here, I feel like I need to keep it going, not only for me, but for her, because like a lot of my clients know her name, so I feel like if I stop, her name kind of dies out, whereas if like I keep pushing and keep going forward, people will know her name and know where all this came from.
Wow, did you miss her a lot?
More than a lot, you know. Every day I wish she was still here, you know. Every day I look at her pictures and her videos and all the stuff that we training and all that stuff. I couldn't even imagine if she was still here.
Wow. Thank you so much.
No problem at all, man.
What has been the biggest struggle in your life and how did you overcome it?
Biggest struggle for me was probably losing my grandmother this past year. And
Sorry.
frankly, I don't think I'm really over it yet. Working on it every day, trying to make myself the best person I can be, and still working though. It's not set in stone yet.
Wow. What has been the biggest struggle in your life and how did you overcome it?
So my biggest struggle was to come to this country by myself at a time where we didn't have any cell phone or emails, and not knowing anybody and realizing that nobody knew me, so I could just disappear from the surface of the earth and nobody would notice.
Wow. How long have you lived in the United States?
27 years.
27 years.
Yes.
Wow. And you would say it's a positive or a negative experience?
I love it here.
You love it. What has America taught you?
That everything is possible.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah, you can become anybody you want.
If you have a dream, it's possible.
Exactly.
Mental health issues mostly, propagated from a lot of different flavors of childhood abuse, mental, psychological, emotional, sexual, just being part of a rut of, you know, the cycles in society today that most people don't recognize or acknowledge or, you know, even really see, because you can't see a person on the street and never really know what they've been through or know what they're actually struggling with inside their mind. But you can make an assumption about a person. That's really easy to do something like that. That's what everybody does. I've been doing a lot of like studying over the past couple of years, basically. Just, you know, where you have the combined wisdom and knowledge of mankind at the, you know, in our pockets and whatnot. So I utilized that during COVID while I was doing a variety of other things to, think about it's almost like a buzzword now, but metacognition and whatnot, because I didn't understand how people thought at all. I didn't know that some people have more of a verbal memory, some people have more of a, text memory. They can write down something that happened and whatnot, but I have an extremely visual memory that more, I don't know, cinematic at times. I daydream constantly. But some of those, so I could daydream memories pretty easily, and that's when you're buried in something or something reminds you of something crappy that happened in the past, or even slight reminders that happen very frequently. You just end up, in a sense, getting little pictures or clips of those things that come back and affect you emotionally in a very intense way that would last for a while.
Wow.
So until I took the time to sit there and unpack the massive landfill of dumpster fires and life baggage and nonsense, and making a lot of apologies and a lot of phone calls, or even just texts and stuff like that. It's not that hard to reach out and just say like, hey, I'm sorry for being such a douchebag back in the day. Brought me to a square one, and I'm 41 years old now. I do feel better than I have in pretty much my whole life. There's one missing piece though.
That is?
The girl.
Exactly.
That was an insanely, it was a giant dynamic on a thing, and it's like a story of bullshit, and then everything was too fucked up, and I was an idiot and fucking jumped the gun, because after I cleaned out all the bullshit in the attic, installed a decent filing system, I didn't really understand what actual love was or anything, or even thinking that there could be a person that you could picture a beautiful future with, an awesome future with, do anything to make that happen.
You feel more in peace with yourself right now?
Yes. Highly emotional. I've always been insanely emotional, but I can move through it pretty easily now. If I have to, I can shut it off like a switch. I don't know. I guess along with everything that I've done, inside my own head, it gives you a degree of control.
What would be your advice for someone who is going through a lot of struggle in their lives?
That's one of the toughest questions you could actually ask me, because when you're a really depressed person, you come from a lot of shit, and someone asks you like, oh, are you depressed? And you're like, I don't know. Like, what is that? If you've always been depressed and everything's always been fucked up, how do you know what good is? If you don't have a benchmark for what normal and good and like whatever is, like,
It's
you can't
blurry.
like, so it's like if everything's been shitty and someone asks you you're depressed, like, no, I'm not depressed. You actually are really depressed. So being depressed like that is like close to just right on the edge. And most people, like, that's a sliding scale that no one can actually see. You can't look at a person and be like, like, I understand what's going on with your life and your mind or anything like that. And not everybody has not everybody has an equal opportunity to access really good mental health resources and type of counseling, and some people need medications and stuff. Like, in order for me to even kind of fit into this society, I have to medicate up the wazoo. I mean, max dose Vyvanse, which is amphetamines, and anxiety medications and stuff like that. At least did, but people are wired differently, and we have different instincts from our youth. And if you have a normal cookie cutter upbringing, that's how things are supposed to go for you. And if you don't have how things are supposed to go for you, you just don't understand that. You don't know.
You don't have that benchmark.
No one gave you that guidance that you needed. That road is literally not there for you. So it sucks, because some people aren't going to get that road, and we have the ability to create these avenues and roads for people who are not.
Exactly.
So my advice would just be don't stop looking. Don't YouTube a lot of shit too, because that is you don't have to read, you don't have to anything. It's a video dummies for whatever and stuff like that to walk you through a lot of stuff and try to find a counselor or a therapist or a psychotherapist or whatever that you trust, and don't bullshit about it. That's one of the biggest things. Is don't
lie to yourself.
lie to your therapist or anything like that. Don't lie to your doctor or anything. It's pointless. They lose their jobs if they do tell anybody. So it's utilize them as a resource. They're not your buddy or anything like that. You're trying to actually make yourself better. So find someone you trust and don't fuck around. The sooner you get through it, the better. Because when you get to the other side, you actually feel like you're like, holy crap, I really wish I did that ages ago. And it's just take the first step and keep fucking going. Because so as long as you're doing that, I mean, you're going somewhere.
Thank you so much. It was an awesome conversation.
You're welcome.